Equinox has the one thing that it does, and they do it pretty well, I would say, with Maim. I think that Maim is kind of the glue that holds Equinox together at this point. Like, you could have some arguments for the rest of Equinox's kit. Like, Nightform is okay, but at that point, why aren't you just playing Hildren? Like, my main issue, I think, with Equinox is that they basically have, like, 6 abilities, and one of them is good. It really is kind of boggling that Equinox can have all of this. Like, all these different things, and just not really do anything with it. Like, again, Maim is the glue that holds them together, but everything else, God forbid. They don't have, like, they can't access all of their abilities at one time, and I think that that is a problem. Because, like, oh, well, you might want some hit pieces from Nightform while you're in Dayform. Because Nightform does have a couple decent defensive abilities. Having the enemy slow on Mend is decent. I believe that's Mend. I can double check here. I mean, Dayform is fine with, you know, like, giving damage vulnerability is really good, especially for an ability as old as it is. But also having the speed increase is, like, not ideal, I would say. And now, one thing that Equinox really does struggle with is armor. Again, not as bad as some other frames. Like, she's mostly fine. But she does have a little bit of an issue with it. Like, that'll probably kill most of them there. Like, any, like, real armored enemies would probably just kind of fold. Or she would fold to, unless she really builds up her Maim. Which, again, Maim is a fucking phenomenal ability. Like, it still is disgusting even to this day, in some ways, because it is technically an infinite scaling ability that quite literally nukes the entire room, I think. Without line of sight, yeah. No line of sight checks on this thing. Just nukes the entire room. One of the originals to ever do it. And I don't think that that's anything to scoff at, but like, that's kind of the problem, is that, like, none of Equinox's abilities are bad. Like, they all do something useful, but, like, nothing is exactly outstanding outside of, obviously, Maim. Now, there might be an augment out there that I'm not aware of that maybe gives her something else, but as it stands, I think that, you know, I think that, honestly, if she even got just an augment to, you know, help with her own survivability, because that is kind of an issue that she does struggle with if she's not in... If she's in day form and not night form, where night form can just instantly restore her shields and gives her enemy slow, that's fine. But just being able to, like, crowd nuke as she does, and will continue to do, makes her, like, usable. And then that's kind of her problem, is that, like, I wish she was worse so more people would look at her. Because she'll always have the one thing that she can do, and that will keep people from saying that she's bad. Because, again, Maim is a fuck-busted ability. And it's a miracle this thing has survived as long as it has. But overall, I don't even know what I would do to fix her other than, like, completely overhauling her. That, or, like, at least to start with, somehow give her access to day and night abilities at the same time. And just say, let us pick her passion. Make it like a tap-hold situation. I don't know. Or make swapping between day and night less of an issue. Like, I can go into night, cast a buff that lingers, and then swap back to day form. I think that that would be a good way to do it. And have, like, you know, some channeled abilities from, you know, make a channeled ability for night form, carry over into day form. I think that would definitely be a help. One thing that tends you to turn away from frames is casting times. I think that casting times are generally pretty good across the board. There are a couple, you know, not so good ones. Granted, usually the ones that have worse casting times usually get an invincibility phase to compensate. But no, I genuinely think that casting times are pretty decent across the board. I think it is interesting that it is looked at as a stat that you can mod. I wish that there were maybe like a couple dual stats that mess with casting speed. But other than that, like, just having the yellow shards is usually more than enough if something is not quite up to speed. Like, again, Dante, I get away with 2 yellow shards. He feels like butter. No problems there. Doesn't need the extra whatever else he would be getting either. That's what I think Warframe needs less of, is less opportunity costs that specifically lock you out of something that you still really need. Like, opportunity costs should be things that, oh, this would be nice to have, and this would also be nice to have, but you can only pick one. But a lot of times, opportunity costs in Warframe are, oh, I need both of these things, but I can only have one. And there's, like, Geyer, for example, like, has a couple things like that where she wants, you know, either 2 different subsumes or wants one of her abilities to still exist, because she needs her 3 and her 4, and then I think some people debate on which one to subsume over her 1 or her 2. I personally subsume over her 1. I think that is her worst ability. But I digress. That is entirely off topic from the subject of Equinox. Excuse me if I'm talking a little bit slow and, like, not quite coherent, because I am obviously focusing on playing a little bit. Because Equinox does require to pay attention, because, again, no innate survivability. Doesn't really have it, that luxury. Most Contagious is always busted. I wonder if that applies to abilities. And also, I think that making her dayform defensive abilities just better. Like, I think that, or not her dayform, her nightform. Her nightform is where they slack a little bit, because it feels very old Warframe in how they're designed. Like, lots of, like, sleep CC, and she gets a full shield restore, I guess, which is I can do that with Brief Respite and, whatever, Subsume in, like, 0.2 seconds flat, so that's not really a relevant ability anymore. But, like, it's not bad because you can heal defensive targets with it to some extent. I think it might be one of the better ones to do that with. But I think that, one thing that she could use is I think that her ability to swap should not be filling an ability slot, if that makes sense. I feel like she should have some sort of toggle outside of her ability so she doesn't feel like she's kind of like wasting that slot, so to speak. And both forms get more. But yeah, like I said, Equinox is a tough one. I don't know if she's ever going to get reworked anytime soon because most people don't care about her. Even though she is very cool conceptually.